Storybox Audio.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today is a super exciting day. But before we get into that, I just want to give a big thank you to everybody who continues to watch these videos and support my channel. If you remember from my last video, we put in the panel to the driver's side and got that all finished out. Off camera for the last week, I have put in the passenger side and got everything sprayed down with the sandblaster, sanded down, prepped, and ready to go. We are going to spend time filling in those back holes that you see over there with some body filler to get rid of some of the factory imperfections. And then we are going to lay down some body filler on the frame rails and the panels themselves, the strut towers, pretty much everything. We are not going to get too far into detail. Again, I am not a professional at this, but I promise you that this is going to make a huge difference on the way that this thing looks, and it will get one step closer to paint. And I am so excited to be at this point. I'm ready to do this, and let's get at it. And for those of you who have good attention to detail, you can see that I did put in the Scott rod panel that covers up the back firewall where it goes in between the two hinges. I ended up using rivets for this. I think it's still going to look really good. The metal is very thin here, and I wasn't very competent with my welding skills to not burn through. Also, I wanted to have the factory seal that goes in those oval holes right there to be put back in. I will be replacing that with a new one. Overall, I think that this, once it's painted, is going to look perfect. Over here, when you put those rubber buckets in, it's going to look perfectly fine. And after it's painted, the only areas that you're going to see that are going to be seamed are going to be down here in the corner, right along here, and up through here. The windshield wiper mode is going to go there. There'll be some of it that's going to be attached. It will be distracting, so you're not going to notice a whole lot of the detail. It will look a whole lot better than I think it does at this very moment, but I just wanted to fill you guys in. And for those of you who caught that when I was showing you the strut towers, I just wanted to explain why it looks the way that it does. We are using USC Garage metal grip filler. It's the same stuff that we used on the air conditioning holes that when we filled those in just a few short videos ago. The reason why we are going back to using this: one, it's super affordable. Two, it was highly recommended by the body shop and paint supply store that I've been getting my products from. And three, it turned out really well on the area that I worked with. I am not familiar with any of these products, and since I have used this one before, I think it's going to be a great idea to use it again, since we have some experience with it and I kind of know the drying time, how it works, what sandpaper to use, so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to be using. I bought a few extra bags of it, and now it's time to get started and get all of this little pitted stuff all around here, and then all these seams in here, and then the frame rails and everything good to go. So that's what we're doing. That's the plan. Let's get at it. All right, so we got our first layer of body filler on. Now I want to explain something to you guys really quick. I am not doing this because I am trying to show you exactly how it is done. Please do not take that as the reason of this video. I am doing this because I want to build this car with my own two hands. Now, with that said, I really have no experience with body filler. However, it is body filler. It does not have a brain, and we as people do. So I encourage everybody to get out there and just try it. The worst that can happen is if you were going to pay someone to do this anyways, you would at that point have most of the car dismantled and taken apart, which is going to reduce a lot of labor cost anyway. For whoever it is that you're bringing the car to build it for you. I just want to expand on that a little bit too. Excuse me. I am having a drink right now, and I have a little carbonation in my chest. I had to get that out. Anyway, I got my first Foxbody when I was 14 years old, okay? And when I made it to be a junior in high school, my dad, who also had a Foxbody, started building a race car at that time, and he had gutted one of his other cars that was it was a dailyable driver, but it wasn't something that was going to be like a reputable, let me fix it up, drive it type of car. but it had a really good drivetrain in it. Mine was an automatic at the time, and we had everything we needed to swap it out for a 5-speed. So I decided to go buy a new clutch, and everything else was already there. I came home from high school, from my schedule. I think I got home at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I started tearing my car apart. I took the dashboard out. I took the transmission out. I took the clutch, or the factory automatic pedal assembly out. And I had a buddy of mine come over and help me because some of it was heavy lifting, and I was young. I mean, I was on the weightlifting team, and I was healthy, but we're talking about automatic transmission from an AOD Foxbody. I mean, those things are like giants. So I wasn't about to get that out by myself, especially without a lift or any kind of, transmission jacks or all that special tools. I was doing it in actually this exact driveway, which is only got 2 strips of concrete, and it's not even a full driveway. So I had my car parked exactly where this one is, which is kind of cool to think about it now here, 20 some odd years later. I'm working on another one even further in depth. But let me get back to my story. I do like to rant. I apologize. Anyway, I was digging into that thing, tore it all apart, and I came back in the house, and I was so frustrated and so mad because I was just getting defeated. Things weren't working for me. My dad told me, "Does it have a brain?" I said, "No." "Do you have a brain?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Go back out there and figure it out. If you really need my help, I'll come back out there and I'll show you what to do, but I want you to figure it out." And I have stuck with that with everything that I have tried to do in my entire life since then. And it's really true, guys. If you think about it, if it doesn't have a brain and you do, you can figure it out. You may not be as good as the guys who do it all the time, but I promise you, it may not be as easy as they make it look, but you will figure it out. I encourage you, just get out there and try it. When I get done with this, I will finish. I will continue to make it to the best of my ability. Will it be perfect? Probably not. And that's okay with me, because once the paint is on and everything else is in there, unless you get up in there and with a magnifying glass or study every inch of this car, it's going to be a good looking car. And that's what matters to me. At the end of the day, I built it. Not a lot of people can say that, and there are a lot of people who can, but for those who would rather have somebody build it, go ahead. For those of you who want to try but are scared to, just do it, man. Just do it. It'll be worth it. I promise you. Just get out there, turn some wrenches, try some stuff you've never tried. You have a brain, it doesn't. You can figure it out. I had totally got sidetracked with my rant. I told you guys I like to rant. Anyways, all that is 100% true, and that was part of the point that I was trying to make. However, like I told you, when I came home that day from high school at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I decided today is the day I'm going to get into this, and I went through all my frustrations, and with that lesson that I got from my dad, which I have kept my entire life with how I apply my thought to everything that I do, I drove that car. Now, I came home on a Friday, okay? I drove that car back to school Monday morning as a 5-speed car. And I drove it for years after that, and I never had one problem with the drivetrain. So once again, I promise you, you can figure it out. It will happen. Anyway, the body filler is starting to cure up. I think we can get to sanding on it, so I'm going to do that now, and we'll catch back up right after that's done and show it to you. I'm sure it's going to need a few more layers because I'm not a pro at this, and that's okay. And just like that, it took about, I would say, 3, maybe 4 coats, and everything was completely covered and sanded down. I think I ended up going with 40... No, maybe it was 60 or 80 grit on the orbitable sander, which is this guy here. This is what I use. Let's see. I'm actually going to peel this back really quick. All right, it was 60 grit. So we used 60 to get all that sanded down, and then followed it up with, I think, 180 by hand. on the block and got the rest of it. So it's pretty good. And now it's covered in the SEM high build primer. We got the back done. I'm gonna jump inside here and show you a little bit closer what we had to fill in the back, and kind of explain to you if there's some stuff that you're looking at that you think I should have filled in and isn't, or whatever, so that I can kind of go through my reasoning for everything. All right, that's a little better. Now that we're closer, we can see there was a number punched in right above these fins here. So I covered that in, and then there were more number or letters carved in over here. I filled that in, and then there were just a couple of little nicks, I guess, dings, whatever. It looked like some of them could have been, they resembled like a pinch weld, but I don't think they were a pinch weld. And then there were definitely some pinch welds over in this area, which is a little flatter. These numbers here are kind of like what I'm talking about, that were inside the metal over here and over here. These were kind of large. Anyway, this you're going to be able to see after the brake cylinder is in, but when we do the conversion, even if we didn't do the conversion, really, by the time the brake booster was in here, you wouldn't be able to see any of that. So I'm not worried about covering that up right now, or really ever. So those numbers are going to stay there. When we do the manual brake conversion, it's got a billet bracket that bolts to this area anyway. It's going to cover most of that up. So, I mean, you're not going to ever see that. That doesn't bother me. We did get all the rest of this shaved out here. Let's come in a little closer. We'll kind of zoom in. Maybe if I get my arm out of the way at this angle. See if we can get down that side rail a little bit. I think it turned out really good for never having done this in my entire life. So we're going to repeat the process to this side. We have to go through the whole thing all over again. And here and here. I did some of this. I had some extra mixed up when I was doing the firewall. So I did put a first layer on this side over here. But we got to cover the entire frame rail on this side and then get everything else primered. Once we have all that primered, we're ready to mix some paint, and you guys are going to see exactly what color we are going to be painting the entire car, because we're going to do the engine bay the exact same color as the entire car. So little tip, not that I'm really too experienced in doing any of this, but I found that it was pretty good and easy in the corners. When you mix the mud or the body filler, get some, like, say this is the surface that you're mixing your body filler on, this is your cardboard, blah blah blah, do your mix. Take a fingerful and wipe it into the corners. All these areas here, wipe all those corners, and it's going to make it a lot less to sand off. At least it was for me. So yeah, that's a quick pointer that I could give you. The rest of it is pretty straightforward. To me, it's kind of like working with drywall mud. I've done that quite a bit, so I guess maybe that gives me a little bit of experience with it, because I can work with drywall mud, like the rapid set or the regular. Other than that, though, you know, I've never worked with body filler per se, not to this degree. So I'm super stoked about the way this is all turning out. I could say 33%, 33%. Now we've got this left to do. So as far as the body filler and the primer, we got 33% to go before we can get on to paint. So that's awesome. Let's get at it. I'm so excited to get the rest of this done so that we can put the paint on here. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to do with the K-frame. Plans might be changing a little bit there, temporarily, just to get the ball rolling and keep things moving. So I'm still talking at this moment, and I need to shut up and get to work. All right, here we are, fast forwarded a couple days thanks to some movie magic. This weekend, our neighborhood has been extremely busy because of the parade that's going on for Christmas. But for right now, I'm going to flip you around and give you a tour of what we've done so far. We do have the paint, we have the tape, we have the paper, we have the degreaser, wax remover, tack cloths, everything that we need. But for right now, I'm going to flip you around and give you a tour of what we've done so far, kind of talk you through why we did what we did so far and what the plans are, and then we'll get to the paint from there. But it's probably not going to be in this video. Unfortunately, it's about 4 o'clock here right now, and it's about 50 degrees and it's very windy. There's some paint that's still tacky on the car, which you'll see when I flip you around. But for right now, I think it's best just to show you so you guys can see for yourselves what a crazy difference everything that we've done so far has made to this thing, and give you kind of an idea of the final outcome. If you look at the primer, you'll see, think about that as a color of paint. You're going to see what the outcome is going to be on this car. It's going to be phenomenal. All right, so here it is so far. Okay, you can see I had every intention on getting this thing painted today. The tent is way over there. I pushed the car back. I was going to create a little paint booth and get it all taped off, but I wanted to get both sides of the inner fender skirts that are behind the wheel well coated in the hot rod satin black before painting the inside. And in order to do that, we had to tape everything off. Now I've already removed all the tape. This here, the flatter black that you're looking at, is a rust encapsulator. So that's what you see on the face here where the door hinges go. But you can notice the difference in the sheen. This is very flat, and this has a satin semi-gloss, well, more satin, but it's shinier than here. This is a 2K paint with a catalyst mixed in the can that you have to pop. So the shelf life on that can after you pop that catalyst is only 24 hours. So I wanted to get all that done. That paint will dry extremely hard. Now all of this has had the rust converter on it prior to putting the 2K hot rod satin black on it. Everything in here, all up in all the crevices, the frame rails, has all been coated in that hot rod black. So moving back up top here, we taped all this off along here, and then all of the holes where we could have got overspray into the engine bay, and we got this side painted. We did the same thing over here and got all of this painted. Now I stopped it right here where the body line is going to come into where the door hinges go, because this is going to get painted the color of the car, so that when you open the door, you're not going to have a multicolored paint job. It's not going to look tacky. I want it to look really good. The reason for doing all of this is to try to preserve the inner area behind the fenders from any kind of weather elements that can create premature rust, or even the parts of the car that were rusty and make them even worse. I did spend, if you look back on some of the other videos, I spent a lot of time wire wheeling and sanding and grinding down all the rust that I possibly could. Any other rot, any of the surface rust, it was all taken down mechanically and then cleaned thoroughly, very thoroughly, and then hit with the rust encapsulator, rust converter. And over the last 3 months, the car has been sitting outside. Now it has had the tent over it, but I can tell you, after painting that rust converter on there, it has not shown any rust back through at all. So, and that stuff is tough as nails. I've sanded on it with the 400 grit, and it holds up, guys. It's no joke. That Rust-Oleum, rust transformer, converter, whatever it is, that stuff works. So I'm pretty confident in it. I know that after 10 years, 15 years, whatever, it might be a different story. But honestly, I don't plan on driving the car a whole lot in the rain unless I get stuck in a storm. It is Florida, and it happens. The forecast can call for no rain. It can be sunny, and then in the blink of an eye, it's just nasty weather. So that's the only way that I plan on this car ever really getting stuck outside in any kind of weather. This is not what this build is for. This one is just to make it as clean and simple as possible and have something to drive and enjoy when I need to. It won't be my daily driver, I can promise you that. So I have faith that this car is going to last a good amount of time. So what else did we paint with the Hot Rod Satin Black? We've got the bumper support brackets here painted in that too. Number one, you're not going to see this. That stuff dries tough as nails. Like I said, I mean, you could take a hammer to this stuff and it's not going to chip off. Secondly, I want to save as much of the paint, because it isn't cheap, for the parts of the car that need to be colored body color, and that's the reason for that. The lower support radiator bar, that's going to be painted in the Hot Rod Satin Black as well. The reason for that, for me, it's going to be below the radiator. It's not going to be something that you're going to see, but it's also probably something that will get dirty a lot quicker than most of the other components of the car that are going to be painted in the body color. Now, moving along to the inside, everything in here has been sprayed with the SEM high build primer and knocked down with 400, sprayed again. I did that a few times just to ensure everything had a good solid coat. And is the car perfect with my body filler and my abilities and body work? Hell no, not at all. But it's a night and day difference from what it was. We taped off the windshield and I resprayed the cowl area that previously had only the self-etching primer. This primer holds up a whole lot better, so, and it needs to have the high build primer on it anyways, doesn't matter. But holy cow, look at the difference. Now, I know you guys were expecting me to be painting the body color on the car, and honestly, so was I. Time just got away from me, but we got almost everything else that needs to be done. We've got all the supplies, every last supply. When I went to the paint shop, I walked in, I told the girl, you need to set me up for success because I have no idea what I'm doing. So with their guidance and everything that they told me I needed, I went ahead and purchased all of the supplies, probably even more than what I needed to, and got some supplies in a larger bulk for the rest of the car. So we'll have enough paper and tape, degreaser and wax remover, and to do the rest of the car, we'll have to go and get more paint and tack cloths and probably some sandpaper when we go to do the rest of the car. It just sucks. I mean, it's windy and cold and it's getting later in the day, and we have the black paint that we just put on and it's still tacky-ish, and I don't want to be running tape over paint that hasn't fully cured. And in efforts not to make this video too entirely long, I'm going to cut it here, and the paint will just have to wait for the next video. Oh well, it is what it is. I can promise you though that it is going to be going on really soon, because I have not done all this work and prepped as much as I have for it to sit in primer for too long and have to start the process all over again. the body work and everything else took a lot longer than I thought. And a lot of you guys out there that are watching this are probably saying, dude, it's just the way that it is. For somebody who has no idea what they're doing. But I will show some before and afters at the end of this for some of you who are just stopping into the channel for the first time, kind of see where we started from and where we're at now. And even for you guys who've been watching the channel since we started, just as kind of like a quick refresher for a mental note to see how far the car really has come. Because when you look at it right now, it's like, oh yeah, it's just an unfinished car, it's got some primer on it and whatever. But this thing took some work, a lot of work. And for somebody who's not a body guy, I'm not a certified mechanic, I'm not a welder, I'm not a painter, but I've had to do all of that on the car because my goal is to do everything myself. And I'm taking advice and guidance where I need to from people who have done it before, but I promise you they're not here helping me. And I'm doing it all on my own, so it's taking a little bit longer than I thought, but it's turning out better than I thought too. Alright, that's it guys, that's all we have for this one. If you guys are stopping in for the first time, hit that subscribe button. It keeps me motivated to keep pumping out content like this. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. Other than that, thanks for stopping in, thanks for taking a watch, and we'll see you guys in the next one, where we'll be getting ready for some paint. I promise you the paint will be going on. It has to. I'm too excited for it not to. Thanks guys, we'll see you later. Peace.